What are you doing?
Nick, we only have an hour, but I would really like to play a game today. Do you think you can suggest anything to play?
Oh, it's got to be one or two. What's up, everybody? My name is Nick.
I'm Mike.
We are the Brothers Murph, and that's right. Today we're talking about our top 10 games you can play under 60 minutes. Now, this is a pretty wide, there's a lot of games in this kind of range. So if you want to see more of these different times, let us know down in the comments below. These are our favorite games you can play in 60 minutes. 60 minutes, I feel like, is a good, would you still consider that to be a pretty short game?
I would consider it to be on the shorter side.
Right.
Certainly,
I would say so.
For the games that we tend to go for, they'll be a little bit longer. But what we're kind of focusing on is games that give you a lot of kind of gameplay in not the longest amount of time. Yeah. It's not gonna be a 2-3 hour game, but you still get to, it's not a filler game, like a little short little card game either. So that's what we're kind of aiming for to talk about in this list. Our first up is going to be Legacy of You. This is a solo resettable campaign game where you are trying to manage your townsfolk, manage your resources in order to build these canals to stop flooding from coming in and kind of ruining your crops, ruining your villages. And you're also dealing with threats from afar, these kind of barbarians coming in and attacking. And so you're trying to fend them off through kind of resource management. And one thing I really like is because this is a solo game, each episode, each game you play is about 45 minutes, 50 minutes. And so you can pack a really big kind of game experience from Garphill games, and it kind of fits in their line of games in terms of the weight and complexity you'd expect. But because it's a solo game, I can just be heads down, focused in, and it keeps the, each individual play that you do, keeps it fairly tight. So I can play a couple games in an evening back to back, or 3 games in a row, and it doesn't take up too much time. So I really like that I get this big experience, but because of the solo nature of it and everything, it doesn't take up all night to just play one game.
Our number 9 is going to be a game called Quadropolis. This is a really great Days of Wonder game that I feel like, it has done well. I don't think it was like a failure or anything like that, but I feel like no one talks about this game anymore, and it's really, really great. This is a city building game, and this is a game where you have a grid of tiles in the middle on a kind of a central board, and you have architects, and the architects are these numbered tiles. So 1, 2, 3, or 4, those are the 4 different architects you have. So how to get tiles for your city is you place your architect around the edge of the main board, and wherever it's pointing to, you're choosing from that row or column. And then whatever number is in there, that's how many you count in to take that tile. So if I place my level 3 architect here, I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3, and take that tile. That's the 3rd in line there. If I need this one over here, I can put my 1 over here and go boop, that one like that. So it's a really interesting way of drafting tiles, because you're like, oh, I really want this one. With the architects that I have, how can I can put it over here, and then it's only 1, 2 here, and I can grab it like that. But the other thing that gets tough is whatever on your own personal little city board, there are 4 rows and there are 4 columns. And so whatever architect you place out there, you have to place it in that same row or column. So if I grab one with my 3 architect, this tile then has to go in my 3rd row or in my 3rd column. And all of these different tiles that you're getting work differently. There's like harbors, and harbors want to all be next to each other in a line. There are stores, and stores want to have a lot of little meeples in them because they want a lot of customers. There is residential buildings, so those are kind of like high rises, so you want those stacked on top of each other. There's parks that want to be next to like stores and residential buildings, all that different kind of stuff. And so it's kind of this really interesting way to think about it. You're like, well, I really want this tile, but I need it to go here. So what architect can I use to make both of those things happen? And as the game is going on, everyone's taking tiles. So sometimes the tiles you take or the positions around the side of the board get taken, and you can't get that anymore. It's really, really fun. It's not crazy thinky, but it has enough thinkiness in it to make it feel like a good medium, light to medium weight experience that I really, really love. It's got great production. Quadropolis is awesome.
Next up is going to be Cubitos. This is a dice rolling push your luck game. It's kind of like a deck builder with dice because you're going to be, rolling dice, and then those dice are going to kind of go into your discard pile for a while and then come back around once you don't have enough dice to draw from. And I enjoy this one. It's a racing game. It's a wacky racing game in this strange cube world where all the animals and stuff are cube shapes. The dice you're rolling are cubes and things like that. And you are rolling these different colored dice that you're possibly purchasing and stuff. You have some starter dice as well to earn money, to buy better dice, to move your character through the map, trying to be the first one to win this race. It's fun because there's a push your luck element where basically most of the dice have blanks, mostly blanks. The best dice only have 3 sides that are, have a symbol and 3 blanks. That's the best you're gonna get. And most of them have even worse odds than that of rolling. So you're gonna be rolling a lot of blanks, but you can roll and then re-roll and re-roll. But once you have at least 3 faces that have rolled, whatever those symbols are, you have 3 or more. Now, if you roll and you come up all blanks, you bust and you lose everything. And you can choose certain of your dice to discard. So you can strategically discard this way. You move up this fan track because people start rooting for you. But you're going to have a less ideal turn as a result. So I really enjoy I have all these dice. Sure, none of them have great odds of rolling, a success, but I figure if I have 13 dice, something's got to hit, and it's just really enjoyable to be rolling just these big handfuls of dice, hoping that you get what you need, strategically purchasing, better dice, the kind of special dice for this particular race to navigate the map. So there's just a lot of fun things to consider. The push your luck element is great, and the world is just silly and colorful and fantastic.
Number 7 is going to be Seasons. Seasons is a engine builder kind of game. I always want to say it's a drafting game, but you kind of only draft in the very beginning of the game. But this is a kind of dice rolling and engine building game where basically you're going to be going through 3 years of the game, and every year you're going to be rolling dice pertaining to the season. So you start off in spring, then you go to summer, then fall, and then winter. And there are different dice for each of those seasons, and they're really big, chunky dice. And you have all these cards, and these cards need the various elements to be played. So water, air, fire, and earth. And in spring, earth is very common on these dice. So basically someone's gonna roll out these dice and you'll draft these dice in turn order and you'll get the things on there. You can either get cards, but mostly what you're doing is you're gonna be getting points in the form of crystals, or you're gonna be getting these element tokens, which again, you will use to then play your cards. But again, each season, certain things are more common. So in spring, earth is very common. In summer, air is very common. In autumn, fire, I think, is very common. And then in winter, water is very common. And so you can kind of plan ahead like that. You're getting these cards, putting them out. They're gonna kind of combo off each other and you're gonna engine build out like that. It's really, really fun. There's a ton of cards. There's a bunch of different strategies. I really love the dice drafting in this game, trying to get what you need so you can play the cards you want. It's really, really great. It's an older game now. I think it came out in 2012, so it's 13 years old at this point. So it hasn't been around for a while, but it's still so good. We played it again the other day, and we were like, gosh, Seasons is good. It's just an absolute banger.
Next up is It's a Wonderful World, and this one I really appreciate its brevity because you can play a lot of players. With the expansion, you can play up to 7 players, I think. And it's gonna be about 45 minutes, and this is largely because it is mostly simultaneous play. This is a card drafting game where you're building up a kind of a futuristic society, and you are completing projects that are based on these cards that are going to often produce more resources during the production phase of every round, or give you endgame scoring or sort of a set collection for every blue card you complete. You'll get 2 points, things like that. What's fun about this is, like, again, mostly it's simultaneous. As you're drafting cards, you're just choosing one card and passing the hand of cards to your left or right, depending on the round. And that's something that everyone gets to do together. And then once you have your hand of cards, you're gonna choose, how do I want to use these cards? Do I want to put them into construction, which means I have to add the resources showing on them to complete it? Or do I simply ditch the card for its recycle ability, which will produce one resource of the indicated color on that card to help complete those projects I already have in play. And that's really where, for me, the game comes down to. It's like, of course, I'd love to build every single card I have, but I just don't have enough time to do that. It's 4 rounds, it's not long. So you need to strategically recycle those cards to produce their resources and really focus on what you're trying to complete and why, what resources are these going to provide for me to kind of help me accelerate my completing of cards, which ones are going to give me my end game scoring and stuff like that. And every kind of facet of the round is something that we can all do simultaneously, because I can't affect what you're building or you can't affect myself. So I can just kind of be doing everything simultaneous. And so that even at the max player count, this game for us does not, hardly go over 45 minutes, which is really, really fun. And I get to do a bunch of stuff in that time.
Number 5 is going to be the 2-player game Targi. Targi is a really in-your-face, tactical, 2-player kind of worker placement game. Really, really love Targi. Targi is a game where there is going to be like cards around in a big square, and then there's gonna be cards in the middle. The cards in the middle are gonna be like tribe cards, and they're gonna be like resource cards. And the cards around the edge are gonna be various actions that you can take. So on your turn, you're going to place one of your Targis, and you have 3 of them. And then the other person will place theirs on a different card somewhere around there, and you'll end up placing all 3 of your Targis. The rules are is you can't ever place your Targi directly across from another one. And there's also this, I think the robbers, I think that's what they're called, going around. You also can't place across from them. And then when you get to the action resolution phase, you will activate all the cards that your Targis are on, but then you'll also get the cards that correspond to like their connection points. So basically, if I have a Targi here and then a Targi here, you would draw a line and then a line, and where those lines would cross, you will also get that card. So it's this really tactical worker placement game where you're placing workers on the outside, wanting to activate those certain cards, but you also want to gather certain cards in the middle, and you need to do that where your Targis cross. And so there's all of this blocking in the game, and it gets really, really tough and in your face. It's really great. And then you're getting resource to play these cards. You're doing some set collection. You're doing a whole bunch of different stuff. But that placement of your Targis is really, really interesting. Also, the expansion, which I think is just called the expansion, what a flex, is also very, very good. It opens up the game a little bit, makes it a teeny bit easier, which is actually kind of nice because this game can be pretty brutal. But Targi is absolutely outstanding. If you haven't tried it, please give it a shot.
All right, next up is going to be Pandemic. This is, a cooperative game where you're saving the world from these diseases that are kind of rampaging and affecting different regions. And you're trying to manage these crises that are literally outbreaking while trying to discover cures for all 4 of the diseases in the game. There's many iterations of Pandemic, and they all have about an hour, maybe 45 minutes, depending on your player count, playtime. I think that's really important, and part of why Pandemic has been so successful is this was, the first kind of, I'd say, like modern board game we played after, playing mass market stuff as kids. And I think part of what made it such a success for us is that it is a short enough playtime, especially if the game goes very poorly, it could be very short, but it's a quick enough play that you can play it multiple times. And for us, the first time we played it was on a New Year's Eve, and we played it, I think, like 4 or 5 times. Over and over and over again, we played it. And it was just epic and fun and stressful and all of these things. And I think the fact that we were able to play it multiple times because it was a shorter game, it wasn't the longest thing on earth, it really, that made us a lasting memory. And, you know, later on in life, when we started kind of looking into board games again, this was, you know, a few years later, we knew at least, we're like, that one game Pandemic was super cool. Let's go get that. That was fun that one time we played it. We had this epic night and stuff. So I think that, you know, Pandemic, in addition to being just a rock solid cooperative game, I think the time, the length of that game really adds to it becoming that kind of perfect gateway experience for a lot of people.
Number 3 is gonna be one of our favorite racing games, and this is gonna be the Quest for El Dorado. This is a game where you are trying to get, shocker, to El Dorado. You're doing that through deck building. Your cards that you start with and the cards you'll be getting throughout the game will be allowing you to move through these various terrains. There are markets, which will cost money cards to move through. There are jungles, which will cost machete cards to move through, and then there are like kind of like waterways, like rivers and stuff, that'll take paddles to move through. So if you want to move into a 1 machete spot, you need to turn in a card that has at least 1 machete on it, and then you can move your explorer forward. Now the hard part is you're moving through this map that is kind of, you can have one of the ones that they suggest in the game, or you can make your own map because there are kind of these big chunky hex tiles. And so the map is gonna be different all the time. And there are definitely gonna be shorter ways to go through the map and longer ways, but the shorter ways will be more dense. Because if you wanna go to short way, it might have like a 3 or 4 machete spot. And the thing is to get through that spot, you have to have all the necessary machetes on 1 card. You can't put like a level 2 and a level 2 together to make 4, it has to be 4 on 1. So you can take the shortcut, but you need to make sure you draw those cards or already have those cards, or else you're gonna be stuck there for a bit and maybe have to backtrack. So it's this really interesting way to kind of like think about it and think about what you want to do. Throughout the game, there's going to be more better cards that are kind of coming into the market as other ones get depleted. It's really, really good. And you're basically trying to be the first person to get to the end, to get to El Dorado. I really like this game. I think it's a really good intro to deck building because it just makes sense what you're using these cards to do. There's not a whole bunch of like text on or all this kind of crazy stuff. It's like, hey, this card allows you to move across the markets. This card allows you to move across the jungles. I feel like you can teach it pretty easily. I really like Quest for El Dorado. I think it's a really, really outstanding game.
Next up is going to be Ginkgopolis. This is one, of course, I talk a lot about. Steph right here at Board Game Geek is the reason we know about this game, so we always have to give it up to Steph for showing us Ginkgopolis. We're so grateful for that. This is a game that scales really well. You can play 1 to 5 players, and it's gonna be about 45 minutes every time. It is a quick game, you get a ton done, it has this big kind of experience, there's a lot of things to think about, and it does it so fast. And that is something that's continually impressive. So the way it scales is that you have your kind of your little resources that you're gonna be putting out onto the board. And if you play a lower player count game, you're gonna have more of those resources. At a higher player count game, you'll have fewer. And that will kind of, you know, speed up the game. The amount of tiles you use and stuff as well will factor in there. So this is a game where you are card drafting and choosing 1 card to kind of play in 1 of 3 ways. You can play it to simply gain a resource or gain a tile or gain a point. You can do the urbanize action, which is going to be spreading the city out. You can kind of add to the city's width or height by putting out new tiles and putting a little claim marker, one of your resources on it, say, hey, this is my part of the city. Or you can construct, you're gonna be stacking up on that city and stuff. So what makes this game so just delightful to me is that you will build an engine as you construct. You're gonna be collecting cards. They're gonna start to give you bonuses of resources, tiles, points, every time you do certain actions. And if I have, you know, 4 cards that trigger when I do the construction, I get to do all of those cards anytime I do that particular action. So things ramp up really nicely. There's a couple of ways the game can end as well. If someone plays out all of their resources, the game ends immediately. If the pile of tiles gets depleted, which will start happening more and more because people are going to start to do an action that might give them 3 tiles in addition to the one they spent. And so that pile of tiles can go down quicker than you think. And this game just does so many things well, where it gives you a big game experience, it gives you a lot of different mechanisms that blend together really well, and it does it in a short amount of time. So it doesn't take all night to give you so much. And that just to me is amazing, because there's, you know, I'm a dad and stuff, it's busy times and everything. And so it's nice to have, like, I need a crunchy game experience, but I only got an hour. Ginkgopolis will absolutely deliver in that shorter time frame every single time. And it's something that I'm just grateful for as someone who can't play 3-hour games as often as maybe I once could when I was younger.
Our number 1 is going to be Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition. We really, really like this game. We really like Terraforming Mars just in general, but we like this one, because it's just shorter, it's just a little bit more streamlined, and it kind of, at least for me, the way I always put this game, and I know a lot of people, very many people disagree with me on this, and that's totally okay. It kind of like left all the stuff I really enjoy in Terraforming Mars and took out all the stuff I either didn't like or just didn't care about. Like personally, in Terraforming Mars, the whole board where you're putting out hexes and kind of trying to do like air control, I just don't really care about that part. I just don't. I'm here for the card play, and that's where Terraforming Mars keeps all of that, and I think it's really, really nice. Terraforming Mars also has this really cool phase selection mechanic where everyone will get to choose what phase they want to make sure happens. It's phases 1 through 5. One is like playing cards, one is playing like blue and red cards, one is like activating those blue cards, one is production, and then one is getting to draw cards. All the different kind of stuff, again, you can do in Terraforming Mars, but this time they're connected to a phase. So if I want to do like the drawing cards action, which I think is phase 5, I need to make sure I choose for phase 5 to happen, because then I can guarantee that it's going to happen. So everyone will choose what phases they want to happen, and then they'll flip it over, and then whichever ones get chosen, those are the phases that get happen. So if phase 2 doesn't get chosen by anyone, it doesn't happen at all. And the cool thing is when you choose a phase, everyone gets to do it, but the person who chose for that phase to happen, they get an extra bonus. And you don't know what other people are going to choose, so you might end up choosing the same one if you both really need that to happen. But there's this really interesting decision space where you're like, you know what, I really, really need to have production happen because I'm starting to run out of resources, but I really think Mike is going to choose production, so I'm going to go ahead and choose drawing cards because I'm pretty sure him or someone else is going to choose production. So I'm just going to assume it's going to happen. And sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. And I really enjoy that kind of, I want both these things to happen. Which do I think is guaranteed to happen from someone else? But again, choosing it yourself means you also get a bonus, which is really, really nice. I love Terraforming Mars in general, but I really, really like Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition even better. Again, it took out all the stuff I didn't care about and left all the stuff I like and added that really interesting kind of choosing phases and following mechanics that I really, really adore. So that was our top 10 games you can play in 60 minutes or less. Let us know down in the comments below, what are some of your favorite shorter games? Again, not super, super short, but you know, not in that hour plus range. Yeah. Let us know down in the comments below, and that's gonna be it for us. We'll see y'all a little bit later.